Brownish waters stretching over a vast majority of hinterlands alongside blue waters, meandering the creeks in curves and turns through the Benue and the Niger. 10,000 kilometers of coastline bearing huge opportunities and investment as the waters empty into the Atlantic, a natural, national, wealthy heritage, the inland waterways. President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, through the Federal Ministry of Transportation, led by the Minister, Right Honorable Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, and the Minister of State, Senator Gbemisola Saraki, is focused on opening up all modes of transportation, and for inland waters, attaining all year-round navigability is the goal.
Nigeria has improved on the ease of doing business. The Ministry of Transport is contributing quite a lot because we have a lot of agencies that do these things. We have the Nigeria Ports Authority, NIMASA, NIWA, and other agencies. And basically, a lot of them engage in export. So what ease of doing business did was to reduce those unnecessary bottlenecks that would freeze or reduce the capacity of individuals to perform at their maximum level.
The infrastructural development as being one of the cardinal points and promises that President Muhammadu Buhari made with the people of Nigeria. Since then, to date, you can see that a lot of investment has been going on. Now, what many Nigerians perhaps might not see, which is not so obvious, is what has been done within the inland waterways. The inland waterways, as you know, is critical for any development of any nations, for transportation of goods and people. And for many years, as you know, there's been so much dredging going on within the inland waterways, and to see how best in which we can expand, develop, and grow, creating both jobs as well as wealth used within the inland waterways. So government is committed to that, especially with all that has happened with port congestion that we hear of and we see, and sadly that we all have to endure, that there are other routes and other ways. Water is one of the cheapest ways of moving, especially very heavy goods, which will make it much easier on the quality and how long our roads last for. So the federal government is completely committed. We're behind inland waterways to ensure that we deliver as best as we can, as quickly as we can, as cheaply and as efficient.
One of the mandates of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, to the Ministers of Transportation is that we need to open up our waterways and make the waterways navigable. The overarching mandate of Federal Ministry of Transportation is to develop an intermodal transport system. You want road, you want rail, you want water, and you want to integrate them so people can move seamlessly and change from one mode of transportation to the other.
Our mandate is to develop, maintain the inland waterways, keeping the channels open, facilitating local transportation, water transportation, goods and services from point A to point B, and to achieve this, develop infrastructural facilities that needs to help in getting this mandate fully fulfilled.
The National Assembly Act, Cap 47, and Decree 13 of the 1997 Constitution enabled the establishment of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, an agency which regulates and develops the industry. All inland waterways operations sit on the exclusive legislative list, and the statutory function of NIWA is to develop and regulate.
The exclusive legislative list of the Constitution, 1999 as amended, provides subject matters that are exclusively for legislation by the National Assembly. In other words, issues that are to be carried out by the federal government. Article 36 of the exclusive legislative list provides that maritime shipping and navigation, including shipping and navigation on tidal waters, on River Niger and its affluent, and any other inland waterways that may be designated by the National Assembly as international waterways or interstate waterways. any issue that has to do with this, it is an exclusive affair of the federal government and an exclusive issue to be legislated by the National Assembly only. No state House of Assembly has power to legislate on any issue that has to do with maritime navigation and shipping on either tidal waters or inland waterways or any body of water in Nigeria. This item 36 now is the basis upon which National Inland Waterways Authority was created to regulate, manage, direct, and supervise all activities on Nigerian inland waterways. Inland waterways in this sense includes intracoastal routes, lagoons, rivers, lakes, creeks, and any body of water that is within Nigeria, be it navigable or unnavigable.
All waters within Nigeria belong to the federal government, and so the Federal Ministry of Transportation oversights NIWA. The agency, currently headed by Chief Dr. George Mogalu, is tasked with providing ways and means on all waters.
In my first interview, they asked me what is my vision. I said I'm looking forward to a situation by the time I leave office that water transportation becomes the transport means of choice, both for goods and services. That if I'm able to achieve this, I would have felt very, very fulfilled. And that still remains my focus, because I know that the potentials are enormous. The maritime sector has the capacity to impact massively and positively, not only on our GDP, but the general economy of this country. And we have the potential, so we need to explore it. It may interest you to know that we have over 10,000 kilometers of waterways in this country, and you can access between 26 and 28 states by water. Though unfortunately, it's only about 3,000 and some fraction that is all year round navigable. But then, the potentials are enormous, and we need to do something about it.
The Inland Waterways NIWA has been looking at issues of barging and the issue of dredging and trying to find some long-term solution to the inland waterway expansion. It isn't just about having barges on the waterways, just like a road, because really the water is no different to the road. There have to be markings, there have to be systems of how to use the waterways that even all operators have to learn. There has to be an issue of security, search and rescue to ensure that, God forbid, should there be any accidents, this is what can be done. So safety on water is very important. Safety of life and goods also very important. So issues like the security. But as you know, the Deep Blue project that's looking at the entire maritime security infrastructure was launched and commissioned by Mr. President. So the federal government is completely behind ensuring that we deliver on our promises to Nigeria and to give them infrastructural development and one of the best transportation systems within the world. Of course, we're playing catch up. There's been so many years and decades of things that have not been done. Where we wish to be now isn't where we are, but that is trying to do a marathon in a sprint. That's a bit of a problem, but we're doing the best we can.
What we want to see is an inland waterway service that will open up all the ports in the country, okay? And for people to be able to confidently move their goods to any of the existing ports in Nigeria. We have inland dry ports in a couple of states, right up to Funtua, Kaduna, Kano. So they don't have water, but we should be able to move their goods by barges to the nearest port and then have them move on road or by rail, right, to the doorstep of the shipper. So we want a situation where people can freely move on our waterways. I mean, if you go to some parts of this country, the only source of transportation they have is water. So we need to have our water transport developed.
We believe very strongly that one way we can ease up the congestion is by opening up the waterways.
The management of NIWA has a plan, and our major plan is to link up all our ports by inland waterway transportation. Link all the river ports, jetties, open the channels. We're looking at within these 5-year plans to see the possibility of opening up more than this 3,500 I saw here on navigable and move it up to 100% increase so that we can achieve over 7,000. It's part of the plan we have. And I must be honest with you, the management is committed about it. Me and my general managers, the top management team, everybody is committed about it. But I must place on record the support we have received and we have continued to receive from the ministry. Our Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibika-Mechi, the Minister of State, Senator Wemi Sola-Saraki, the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Gianni, all the directors in the ministry, I would like to say they sympathize with NIWA. Okay? They want to encourage NIWA, and they have been encouraging NIWA. They are supporting NIWA, and we're going to achieve what we have designed in our 5-year development plan, linking all our jetties, linking all our river ports, opening up the channels, and making water transportation the transport means of choice, both for cargo and services. And there's also this interdepartmental relationships that has been very beneficial. The MPA has keyed into our vision. The NIMASA, Shippers Council, Marine Academy of Nigeria Oron, everybody has keyed in. The chief executives, everybody believes in this intermodal means of transportation, getting the rail to work, getting the inland waterway to work, getting the roads to work, so that by the time all these means of transportation are active, the pressure will be reduced, and then it will be to the benefit of our people. And in the course of it, new towns will develop. By the time our inland waterways start full operation and goods move from Lagos on Onitsha, new towns will develop on the routes, because where these vessels will stop either for refueling or even for them to spend some time there on land, that in those areas, new towns will develop. And by the time these river ports get into full functionality, you find that the communities around the river ports will immediately develop. And we have not even addressed the issue of tourism, which also has a massive potential that we can benefit from.
The use of the inland waterways is not new in Nigeria. History dates it to the pre-colonial times and today. Quite a number of communities and sectors rely on the inland waterways to effect their daily routines.
The white man left his country to discover Nigeria, the sea. That tells you the importance of the sea. The sea length extending to inland waterways is the goal spinning mindfully. I don't know of any country that has this potential. Oil is not permanent, but the water is permanent. We are realizing it and determining our path to this important part.
These things were being done in the past. I remember when I visited the traditional ruler of Onitsha, His Majesty Igwe Achebe, and he told me the story of how his mother was doing business between the north and Onitsha, and they were moving goods between Onitsha and Baro on a regular basis. What happened? When I met with the traditional ruler of Osemoto, a community where you have the Oguta River port in Imo State, he told me that as a boy, that vessels were coming straight from Liverpool to Osemoto, bringing goods and carrying goods. What happened? I remember also while we were in school, my roommate and very close friend is from Sapele, and I go to Sapele with him. You see logs of timber being moved by barges on the inland waterways. What has happened? What went wrong? So it's a matter of sitting back, thinking inwards, because I know that the potentials are enormous.
In those good old days, development follows the river banks. Even when British came, their development followed the water routes. Now, you are even talking about African continental free trade. How do you move the goods? Transportation by water is the safest mode of transportation if and when we get it right. You know what we have, some countries build by artificial labor and provision. But we are so blessed. We have the coastline, we have the waters. It's just to acknowledge what we have and try to develop it, take it that one step further from the God gifts that we have. And NIWA is doing very well, opening it up. They are hidden treasures.
The waters are one of the world's busiest commercial hubs, coastlines for trade, as waters most effectively bear the weight of people and cargoes traversing communities. The network of water borders in Nigeria connects 28 out of the 36 states, opening it up to maximum use through water transportation, barge operations, dredge activities, and the delivery of other water-based services.
The years of IWD were more of studies because we have over 10,000 kilometers of waterway. We had to look at every inch of it to proffer the necessary solutions. Now we have come into the stage of developing and implementing the result of those studies. It is quite cost intensive. Like today, we are at the site of the Lokoja River Port. 40 years ago, we planned and designed 19 river ports nationwide. Lokoja is just one of the 19. Before this, we have been able to deliver Onitsha, awaiting concession. It's interesting to note that in the lifespan of this administration, 3 more have come up.
We register all inland crafts plying this route. We control all activities in our waterways, dredging activity, fishing, sand mining, everything on the inland waters. We registered all jetties, all infrastructures along the waterways. 100 meters perpendicular to the shore are under the control of National Inland Waterways. So we have jetties that are being built by National Inland Waterways and controlled for the movement of cargoes and human beings.
There are actually regulations that says the amount of tonnage that should be on our roads, not more than 30 tons of vehicles should ply the road. Where all the alternatives of transportation has not been developed, then you find out that movements of people and goods happen mainly on the road, and this accounts for well over 90% of movements within the country. So that becomes glaring that we need to open up the other modes of transportation. One clear thing I told the managing director of NIWA was that we needed to make our inland waters navigable and safe. Okay? So we also need to move the wrong tonnages off the roads.
So the only way to reduce this pressure on these roads is turning to inland waterways. Most of the containers you see in Lagos today, to all the way to Baro, and even all the way Makurdi, Yoruba.
Our roads are not designed to carry the weight they are carrying. And that is why our infrastructure don't last. And I tried to analyze it by giving a simple example. If 5 million containers are coming from Lagos to Onitsha and Aba, don't forget that majority of the containers that come into this country, over 60% of it, end in Onitsha and Aba. So which means that if 5 million containers are going to the east, that translates to 10 million trailers being on the road. Because 5 million trailers will bring these 5 million containers, and another 5 million will take the empties back. Our roads are not designed to carry this type of pressure they are carrying. So why don't we use our waterways? And it is possible and it is doable. And that's why, as an organization, we are focused seriously, putting every effort we can to ensure that this inland waterways becomes fully functional.
So there was need for us to begin to look at the possibilities of using barges to move freight from Lagos to Onitsha, Port Harcourt to Onitsha to Lokoja, moving up to the north.
We have done a test run between Port Harcourt, One and Onitsha, and it was quite successful. We're concluding arrangements now to do the Lagos Onitsha-Lagos axis test run. And once we do that, we encourage our people to now take advantage of this new initiative. I've engaged the actual players, the importers themselves. I've engaged them, we've talked. The chambers of commerce, I've engaged them, we've talked. And they're all desirous of taking advantage of this new development.
There's nothing wrong taking a boat from Lagos to Niger, for instance, because there's a link that goes there from Lagos to Warri, from Lagos to Port Harcourt and all that, so that we can deviate from the road and use the waterways into many other areas inside the state. You can go to another interstate.
And the question is, why can't we do it here? It's doable and it is possible. We want to leave a legacy. We want to leave a mark. And that is what our attention is. If you go to China, they have a massive inland waterway transportation system and it's working. Even in Africa, Egypt, you see serious activities happening.
Imagine that today, maybe 5 vessels bait at Onne or Calabar in 3 months. And the waterways are opened up. Batches can now go and convey goods from Calabar and Port Harcourt, Onne to Onitsha. You know, our southeastern people are merchants and their goods are able to get to them at their location. So what we will now see is that first, the number of vessels that will be baiting at those ports are going to increase. With increasing number of vessels baiting, you will need more workers to discharge those products. You will need a crew to manage batches and move them. What are we saying? More Nigerians are being empowered to work on those roads. And then the goods get to the end users. No more waiting 3 to 6 months in Lagos to get your goods delivered to you. Then you talk about the peasant farmers. You talk about the fishermen in our inland waters. They need a means of transportation. They are sure their perishables can get to the right market in a very short time. Is it the people who want to export our agricultural products? We are saying that they will be able to move their products from their warehouses to the international waters from those ports. For marine services, it's a tripling effect. When you look at the economic empowerment in terms of the number of people who are going to work, in terms of the products that are going to be shipped out or shipped in, it's something that we know is going to be mind-blowing. We may not achieve what we want to achieve in 6 months, but at least we will see that we have started somewhere and we keep building on that.
The Nigerian inland waterway is viable, very viable, no doubt about it. But we have to develop it. I remember one wanted to try moving cargo between Onitsha and Onne and Onitsha. A lot of people said, oh no, don't try it, it's a waste of time, it's shallow, it can't do this. My spirit was so dampened. I now engaged the president of Batch Owners Association. I told him, I said, this is what I want to do. How can you help? And he keyed in. And we both agreed we'll make it silent. Nobody should know. So that in case it fails, it's only between both of us. And as God will have it, we moved consignment between Onne and Onitsha safely. Returned it back on badges. He brought flat bottom badges and we were able to move it. And that is what has now encouraged us to now do what we are doing between Onitsha and Lagos Onitsha. So as to viability, it's a good business. And thank God that a few people are keen into it. Yes, there are challenges. Some people will say, oh, at this point, the draft is low, it's not as deep. If it is low, that is why we have a survey department in Niwa. We survey the route, we find out wherever it looks a little more shallow than it should be, we go and clean it up. We move the dredge, we open up the channel. That is why we are laying emphasis now on maintenance dredging. We have a very functional survey department, and the charting is a continuous process. You don't chart and say once chart is charted. Because you can chart a stream, now you can chart a waterway, now the next day it becomes silted. The second stage of automating the entire system of NIWA is ongoing. The procurement process is on for electronic charting of our waterways.
The depths are dynamic. But last dredging we carried out of the lower River Niger from Baro to Warri, the depth we envisaged was 2.5 meter depth. release available depth all year round. What it implies is that at any time of the year, including the lowest water level time, you will have a minimum of 2.5 meter depth within the navigable channel that is defined.
There are also social solutions. We have 6 clear months in a year when you have enough depth in the craft to come up. And we advise the public that if you want to move goods up the country, you take advantage of those 6 months. Calculate what you need in the years of low draft and move them up. Like in the past, our neighbors from Cameroon would come at high water and take fertilizer from One and move all the fertilizer they need for the next year up during that time. We also had a program where we were escorting UAC, John Holt. They move all their goods that they need beyond Makurdi and go at the high water.
Because capital dredging is quite expensive, and we as an authority may not have the resources to be able to do that. So the emphasis is maintenance dredging. People are beginning to see the potentials, because you must understand one fact with our people. Somebody has to kickstart it. And that is where government is playing a big role, trying to kickstart it, because it becomes a form of encouragement and every people will key in. And let me also place on record that the federal government is committed in developing our inland waterways. The government of Muhammadu Buhari has been so supportive. Anytime our memo comes, we get approvals. When we make demands, we get approvals. When we ask security agencies for support, we get the support as and when to ensure security on our waterways, which is also a very major challenge. But it's not only limited to the waterways. We also have security challenges on land.
We have an issue with utility line crossings. There are bridges across our waterways. There are electricity pylons on our waterway carrying energy. There are dams on our waterway obstructing navigation. They are all essential services. There are pipelines by NNPC going under, so that when we want to dredge, we have to be careful. These are issues that have to be addressed inter-ministerially, because they have their purposes, but everybody must exist in synergy. We once used to have a river users consultative assembly. I don't know at what stage that died. There is a need to bring agencies together. In future, there is no economy that grows without water transportation. It will be a waste when we begin to demolish these bridges in the future, because we surely will. The future of any economy for bulk movement is either rail or water, never on the road.
With the increase in activities, the need to constantly develop and keep the inland waterways safe, secure, and thriving remains the focus of government.
No country that has Nigeria's stretch of territorial waters can afford to take its issue of safety and security in the waterways very lightly. Under their leadership, Nigeria has seen a total transformation of the issues of safety and security in our waterways, not only on our Nigeria's territorial waters where we see international shipping take place, but also in our inland waterways that sees the movement of persons and cargo internally in Nigeria's inland waterways. And the presidential approval we received to invest in the Deep Blue project to secure our waterways. We have seen the issue of safety and security elevated to a level that we have not seen in previous administrations. And we are fortunate again to have chief administrators, chief executives of our parastatals lead these organizations to position the issue of safety and security in such a manner that we need to see reduction in accidents, we need to see reduction in piracy, kidnapping, and theft in our waterways. The collaboration between NIWA's operations in Lagos and the Lagos Waterways Agency has seen a gradual reduction in both accidents in the waterways of Lagos State. That is the kind of synergy we need to see across the country, in Lokoja, in Anambra, in Delta, in all the coastal and littoral states of this country.
A regulatory instrument being given to the owners of these jetties is not only for economic purposes, we also fulfill the security aspect of it. To that extent, there is a presidential standing committee that whenever licenses are needed, there is sub-technical committee of that committee, presidential committee, which is chaired by the minister. And there are other agencies of government like the police, the army, the DSS, the immigration, the custom, NEWA and NPI are all part of that committee that will go and assess those sites to ensure that they are not only economically viable, but they do not compromise the national security. Then they will come and appraise it, recommend to the minister, then the minister give authority for the licenses for them to operate. So as far as the security aspect of it, we are doing our best to ensure that we do not compromise.
The waters are now more secure than before. Why? Because with the current split of patrol gunboats purchased by NEWA authority for our men to patrol in the waterfront with the men and give rescue mission when there's anything like boat mishap, at the same time to protect the waterfront from pirates, those sea criminals that normally go and rob passengers on the high sea or on the riverside. There is provision of a bulletproof vest. The NEWA authority have made things possible in buying this in most of the area offices.
The Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority, under the leadership of Chief Dr. George Moghalu, has in the last 2 years witnessed snowballing infrastructural developments, increased investment, and regulation of the waters.
The ministry provides policies, while NEWA as an authority implements the policies of the ministry. As a member representing the ministry at the board of NEWA, I was opportuned, or I'm opportuned to know what is happening in NEWA as at now. The federal government holistically is committed towards developing the transport sector, not only waterways, railways. There you can see what is happening in railway also. And through the minister, who is passionate about the development of inland waterways and NEWA, you can see the policy actions of government and the policy implementation by NEWA itself. That translates into what is happening now, opening of inland waterways. It's visible. Containers now moving from Lagos to Warri, which has never happened before. And the waterways that have been opening up now to facilitate trade and passenger.
We met quite a lot on ground. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that there was nothing on ground when I came. By the time I came into office, the Onitsha River Port has been completed, the concessioning process almost being concluded, the Barrow River Port completed. I mean, these are world-class ports, for example. There are also some jetties that have been built and completed. But when I came into NEWA, after my first encounter, both with management, with staff, and when I look at the history of the organization, I felt that the biggest challenge for NEWA actually was not from the perspective a lot of people have been looking at, but actually the biggest challenge of NEWA was that NEWA was underreported. People didn't know NEWA, what NEWA stands for, what is expected of NEWA, their own responsibilities to NEWA also. So I felt that that was a major challenge. So I focused attention in getting NEWA to come into the consciousness of the average Nigerian, for which I solicited the support and encouragement of the Nigerian media, and for which, since I have this platform, let me thank them for the support we have received from them to make sure that people know NEWA. So we have also laid a lot of emphasis on improving on our infrastructural development. We have built a lot of new jetties. We have the Yenagoa Jetty 2 that was abandoned. We have completed it. A brand new jetty was built in a place called Odekba in Anambra State. We're also renovating some of our jetties, developing new shorelines and reconstructing damaged shorelines, both in Lagos and a few other places. As we speak, construction work is about to start on a new jetty we promised them in Ila in Delta State. We're about to start work there. There are a few other places. We are in the process now of commencing the Makurdi River Port, which has always been there, but fortunately provision has been made this time around for us to acquire the land, get the design ready so that construction can commence. I'm also very excited to report that the Lokoja River Port that was abandoned for some time because of the challenge in resolving the issue of variation has been resolved. The project has been varied. The Federal Government Executive Council has approved the variation and the contractor has gone back to site. In fact, provision has been made in this current budget, and then we're also proposing to have additional provision in the future budget so that we can get it completed because of its strategic nature. Oguta River Port is one port that I met when I came into office, and that port was about 58–60% completed but abandoned for a stretch of over 10–12 years. It didn't appear on the budget, so all the investment government made there was all crumbling. But I'm very excited to say that we've been able, by the grace and support we have received both from the ministry and from the Federal Executive Council, that this project is back on stream. We have provision this time around to fence it, which we saw and considered was a major lacuna. We have done a lot of renovation work in our headquarters to make it to look what it should be. Construction works are going on there. Some renovations are already completed. We have been able to relocate our Abuja area office, where we were staying before wasn't befitting of the status of the agency. So, but we've been able to get a bigger, more comfortable space. We provided additional alternative power supply, new generators for some of our, and again, we have provided patrol boats, and a lot of area offices have benefited in the boat provision we have procured. We're also in the process of distributing ambulances to our various area offices, particularly the strategic ones where we're having so much challenge with regards to accidents and insecurity. One thing again we have laid a lot of emphasis as an organization is sensitization of our people so that they can understand their responsibility, so they can understand the need for them to obey basic protocols. We are doing some levels of training by way of getting certification of boat operators and captains. We are recertifying them, getting them retrained. I was in Badagry to close a training program for about 450 boat operators. So we are doing a lot in that regard to retrain and certify those who are operating these vessels. And again, we're in the process of certifying the vessels themselves, because some vessels are not seaworthy, but we find out that people want to put them on water, and they're in the process endangering the lives of the people. We are providing life jackets, distributing them to our area offices for distribution as part of our CSR. And then in this era of COVID, we are very particular about it. We're insisting that the COVID protocols must be obeyed.
We have transformed from what we used to do before towards greater efficiency. We bought a lot of equipment, hydrographic equipment and pneumatic equipment. We have purchased 2 hydrographic vessels with multi-beam eco sounders, and we've equally bought sub-bottom profilers, side scanners, eco sounders. That precisely puts us as the best hydrographic department in Nigeria at the moment. I do not know of any better place. And we have equally installed navigational buoys from Barrow to Onitsha. Then we have presently ongoing the installation of navigational buoys in two channels in Lagos, from Marina to Ikorodu and Marina to Badagry. The projects are right now ongoing. Then we've equally carried out a lot of bathymetric surveys and mapping and charting of different river sections across the country.
We've been doing dredging, but technically we know that the more permanent solution, which we call river training, is what should happen. In river training, we look at the river, we try to reduce the width because the wider it is, the shallower, unfortunately. So we have to do shore protection, we have to block secondary channels. In some places, the river splits into multiple, and then you don't have enough water in the main channel you want to use. And there are a lot of engineering solutions. At the time of our last studies in 1978, Nigeria needed close to $4 billion to train its waterways. At today's cost, you know what it is considering our economy. But that is not to say that we are staying idle. In my 35 years as an engineering staff of NEWA, it's only in this government that the training work has been awarded. Now we have a contract to build what we call a groin in Agenebode. And that groin is supposed to trap sand and reduce the width of the river in that place. Because the narrower it is, the more it becomes deep. And we are making proposals. We have set up committees. There's a national committee on it, which the Vice President chairs, on flood control and navigation. We also have a committee specific to Kogi, because they say charity begins at home and want to solve these problems from home. Under this particular regime, we've been able to deliver additionally Balro River Port, awaiting concessioning. The Yenagoa River Port was amended slightly to a mega jet, and that has also been delivered by this present MD. So the Yenagoa River Port, or Jetty 2 like they call it, is also ready for concessioning. And here we are in the site of Lokoja River Port. This project has been stalled for about 7 years because of cost issues. But this regime has been able to bring it back on board. The required cost funds have been provided, and we're just coming back to site. Under this regime, we've been able to build 2 ramps in Yola, Parking, Kogi, and Juneta for the use of Yola people. Contracts have recently been awarded for one in Anambra, Izam, one in Taraba at Jen, and the jetty in Ila. Last year, we were able to complete the jetty, one at Ugurugu, Enugu State, and one very important one at Onitsha, or Depe, in Onitsha. So again, I can say that the provision of these facilities has suddenly taken a very fast pace in the last 2 years, which is again a credit to the present administration.
The mandate of NEWA to provide river guide services, that is the equivalent of pilotage, to direct the vessels where to go. This we have never done. But thank God he has given approval, and we have engaged the services of some partners to provide this service. While also we will build in-house capacity with a view to taking over. We are switching over to the electronic registration of boats, which is like an online registration, whereby you have minimal contacts with our staff to be able to register your boats. And the benefits are so many. One, we will have enhanced revenue generation from there. We'll also ensure that the boats are safer on our waterways. NEWA as a body, we have taken it up under Dr. George Mogalu that it is our mandate to regulate the boat building industry. Now, we have been building boats in this country. Most of what is built here is flat bottom vessels. That is speed limitations. The greater challenge is in building keel bottom vessels, which are like V-shape. So that is where we want to be. And so we're already talking with consultants to create in-country capacity. At our dockyard, we didn't have a proper berthing facility. And what that meant was that anytime the flood waters were rising, we would have to heave in the boats, take the slack, heave it up, take the slack, until the water gets to its maximum level. And when the water is going down, we will begin to give slack. Our men will stay awake all night. And so, together with the engineering department, we made a proposal that we need to have a berthing facility, a proper berthing facility, so that in and out of the dry season or flood season, the boats will be moored there permanently. And thank God he approved, and so that project is ongoing. We are also building a firefighting vessel. We have mechanical workshops in Port Harcourt, in Warri, we also have in Lokoja. Rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt and Warri workshops have commenced. Under Chief George's watch, we have reached out to Yamaha CFO, Yamaha Japan, and we have collaborated, and so we are going to be training 20 of our engineers and technicians on the maintenance of these outboard engines.
As early as 2019, I think the Honorable Minister convinced the President on the need to develop Baru Port. And an estimated money over 4 billion was invested into that port just to bring economic activities down to the people.
But we have a huge challenge. There is a port that is not accessible either by road or by rail. With this, I know he's been in conversation with the governor of Niger State and also Federal Ministry of Works, because one or two of those roads linking Baru Port are federal roads. And then the third one is the state road, okay? And so we're in conversation with them to say, okay, at least make the roads motorable for people to get to the port. I know one or two private investors have had some conversation with him to see how this can happen. He's in good conversation with the governor of Niger State. The National Assembly is quite interested, in that. And then the Railway Corporation too. So I know they have brought up the procurement process, okay, for the Baru Minna Abuja rail track. And we're in the process of procuring that. BPP has given a letter of no, certificate of no objection for us to be able to proceed to FEC. They have made some budgetary provision for that in 2021 and 2022.
NIWA has turned a new leaf. They are now working together with the state government as well. They are coming together. And recently they've just given us boats, the state, about 3 boats for patrolling the waterways for safety issues and all that. And also a lot of wrecks that was on the water. Some of them have been removed. During the COVID-19, NIWA did provide jetties at Third Mainland area, at Adekunle, at Lekki Phase 1 to move people, so to discongest. So his tenure has been very, very useful to us, fruitful to us, and they have been calling a lot of seminars, stakeholders, encouraging us what to do and all that. Dr. Mokalu has a listening ear.
If not for NIWA, we would not be in Nigeria. That's just the truth. Because when we came into Nigeria, it was really tough setting up, because we were meeting other agencies and we were meeting so many bottlenecks all along the way. Until we went to NIWA, and all of a sudden the doors just opened. When it comes to ease of doing business, they made it easy for us. Gave us a location where to start from, encouraged us, became partners with us, And in fact, I would say without NEWA, there will be no Seacoach Lagos. We have also seen the continued interest of the administration, particularly the headship, to ensure that the private sector people can really thrive. Because it's a tough business, particularly with the cost of acquiring the craft and also the cost of fueling. It's quite a tough business. But when you have regulators that understand, that make it easy for you, that give you soft landing, everybody, they've been so cooperative and made life so easy for us. So we in Seacoach, we always say, without NEWA, there will be no Seacoach Lagos. And that really is the truth.
Taking the lead, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration continues to heavily invest in the development of the sector. The bustling jetties, the increased traffic and activities on the waters are not the destination. Having investment blossom and commuters safe is. And as businesses and industries distributed along the coastlines and littoral communities show heightened capacity to thrive, NEWA's unrivaled focus to deliver to Nigeria a regulated, boisterous yet efficient inland waterways is daily being accomplished.
Give them a free hand. So what suits them within the law? When I say within the law, what is budgeted for, what is the policy of government? The policy of government was to encourage investors, because we don't have enough investment in Nigeria. We need to create jobs, and the way we can create jobs is industrialization and manufacturing. But currently, Nigerians are not doing that. So whether the investment is local or international, the federal government will have to all the existing support.
The truth be told, that before anybody will come and invest, if you don't invest in yourself, I will certainly not come and invest. So investors are out to make money. It's for government to ensure that it looks at protecting the citizens, that nobody takes advantage of the citizens, and to see the best that we can get from various people, ensuring there's a level playing field, and that, because look, as an investor, what you're looking at, I'll be able to make my money, I'll be able to take out my money, there's security, and there are laws in which that protect me. Should anything go wrong, there's a recourse.
The biggest way we can collaborate is through development of the waterways. Development of the waterways cannot be done by one single entity. For instance, Lagos State can build jetties. They've been building jetties. We don't have problem about that. Lagos State can build river ports. We don't have problem with that. We can collaborate. Lagos State has acquired ferries. Any other person can acquire ferry to operate. We collaborate even in providing safety aids, navigational aids on the waterway. Lagos State have been laying buoys. We never said no. Regulation is an exclusive power of the federal government.
There is a love for use of waterways increasing more than before. About 3 million people are moved by passenger ferries in a month.
Since we started, we've had almost like a 20-fold. We can't even carry the number of passengers that would like to come up because we don't have enough boats to do it. That's just the truth. So the market is really open.
There is a huge gap in development of maritime transportation and also infrastructure. And I actually invite investors to come into NEWA facilities and help develop maritime transportation.
We are saying to everybody, let's get on board, let the states come on board, even if it's the local government, if they have the capacity, let them come on board and let's develop water transport.